Morning and welcome to Business Africa Live on BT. This morning we just want to take a look at business and economic issues happening in Ghana and across the rest of Africa. We'll take a break, we'll come back, I'll introduce my guests to you and we'll take our discussions from there. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We want to take a look at business issues, economic issues happening in Ghana and the rest of the African continent. To do that with me is somebody I have known for a long time, even though he doesn't know me. He is Fred Avonyo. Welcome, Fred.
Thank you very much.
And thank you. It's been a while.
Yes.
You've been in hiding.
Yes. It pays sometimes to be underground and do other stuff. So that's exactly what is happening to me now.
I see. You're doing other stuff.
Yes, sure.
Well, that's good to know. Now, the GIPC says that the decline in FDI, the foreign direct investment, was as a result of economic downturns throughout the rest of the world. Is it really the case? And should we always be looking out for the foreign direct investment to develop our economy?
In fact, when I heard that, what I wish I had heard was, so what happened to investment from within? Whether there was also a drop or there was an increase. I even suspect that probably don't have an efficient way of measuring
what we are doing
the investment from within. You know, when I drive around town, I see new shops come up every day. And these are signs of people investing. The only sad aspect is that if you enter those shops, you realize that most of the items are imported. But if they were locally made, they have been fantastic. But each day you see a new shop. But the focus has been on foreign direct investment. I hope we'll pay equal attention to both sectors. But back to the issue that there was a drop. Well, it's not an exciting news because we still think, in fact, we need more companies in Ghana to give employment to the teeming people who are coming out of schools. So it's not exciting. The reason been cited that it's as a result of the international global. I don't want to accept that entirely because in the midst of that, other countries are equally doing well. Okay, so as a country, you have to position yourself and you should be able to forecast, look at the trend and see how you can position yourself under those circumstances to still attract the investment. I think we know what usually happens in an election year in Ghana. There's a lot of hesitation on the part of the investors. I want to see more in that like that because of the election and this particular election dragged on with the court ruling and all, the court case and all of that. So I want to see it more in that direction. But again, I want to see what happens this year. Then we can better determine the trend. Yes.
Statement. But on the back of this, I've had a problem, regarding why we are not encouraging trade among African countries. Why are we not encouraging trade among African countries?
We have said that 1,001 times in our various
Because
meetings and
where I
workshops.
see-
Yes, we all say that. We all say that. I mean, the SAR region gives us a very huge market for us to trade, but we are not doing that. We are not doing that because, again, the policies to guide that are not happening. So again, we are also stuck to our colonial strengths, and we are exporting to them and importing from them. So there's very little room for us to do trading within.
Because
somehow, again, within the informal setting, it is happening.
It is.
People are constantly going to Togo to go and buy from Togo. People are going to Nigeria for all kinds of businesses. People are moving to Côte d'Ivoire. So at that informal micro level, there's a lot of business running through the sub-region. What we need is for the political heads to operationalize that very well at the macro level. And again, we know what happens.
Because even in the midst of that, there's so many challenges you go through just to cross the border from Ghana to Togo or to go to Nigeria. You have so many challenges along the way.
And that is what the political authority need to do so that we can allow that free flow. And that has been going on for years. I mean, we've had ECOWAS since 75. and we are still battling with the same old issue. So
it doesn't seem as if we are making any progress.
yes, again, and I think also it's also partly because a lot of us depend on duties as a source of revenue. So again, if you're asking me to have this free flow and not to apply duties or taxes on these items passing through my country, what are the implications for my own revenue? So these are all issues that we need to look at it holistically and try to resolve it. Sadly, again, I think the issue of integration has not become too exciting these days because of what happened within the Eurozone. So again, the tone of integration maybe in the early 2000 up to 2004
it's much lower now.
Now, I mean, post the Euro issue. So all of those, but I hope they'll go back to the drawing board and then.
But you know, in the midst of this, you have the West African capital markets pushing for integration, and they've gone
pretty far.
Fast.
Yes.
I'm sure by the beginning of April, some of those will even bear fruit. So I'm looking at us. If you look at the model, you have the various heads of the regulatory authorities, the SEC of Nigeria, Ghana, the stock exchanges, working together to push this agenda. And even now, the WAMI is happy about it and is willing to help.
Yes.
So I'm looking at if we can push this agenda much more stronger than we have, we should see some better results for each of the economies. You know, within
that is true. I'll tell you a very interesting. I think again in the area of 2003, there about 2004, there was a conference here in Ghana, and it came out that look, this integration thing is not working. So at the micro and institutional levels, let us move, let us integrate. When we are done, the political heads will come and bless us. So I think that is what is happening. It's happening with the capital market, our payment systems. Ghana and Nigeria are trying to integrate their payment systems so that you can make payment, across. So the various institutions will go ahead. When the political authorities are ready, they'll come and bless us. By which time, I think that's which is a sad one, but it appears that is what is happening.
Well, yet again, the Minister of Finance is still complaining about revenue and tasking the GRA to think outside the box in raising revenue. This is as a result of the GRA unable to meet its revenue targets. The question I ask is it really what we should be thinking about? Are we managing our revenue better? Is the target, even the target for GRA, is it realistic?
I think it is realistic to the extent that if we are really able to mobilize all the available tax sources, we should get there. But we can't expect to get there within a matter of a year. Let us fix our address system. Let us fix our national ID system and integrate them so that at one point we're able to determine, I mean, you should sit at one computer and able to determine the number of people there doing business ABC and get them. But we don't have that. Even when you have a formal business, they don't even know where you are. They can't find you. So we are missing out on those basic things. How do you capture the people? That must be addressed, and it's important. And asking the VRA to think out of the box, the GRA, sorry, they themselves brought about this issue of having a flat rate VAT tax system for the informal small-scale operators, so that currently they pay VAT of 3%. They want to take it up to 5% to represent what you would have paid to internal revenue and then what you paid to VAT at one point. So if you go to VAT, you pay 5% and you would have covered that. This was in a budget, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. It's not been implemented. Now, again, if they had done that, at least because VAT is easier to pay, because it's instant at the point of sale compared to the maybe your income tax or your tax on profit. If you don't have a proper bookkeeping system, you have a difficulty in determining how much you're supposed to pay as tax. So if at the point of paying VAT, which is easier to pay, you're going to pay an additional amount that covers you would have had that money coming in. But again, I don't know why that has not been implemented. So there are ways, but I think first of all, let us fix our address system, let us fix our national ID system, then automate our system so we can identify the people.
So it's not really about thinking about outside the box. It's just simply about
the cases. I mean, what I'm saying, they know.
Yeah.
We all know.
Yeah, no, those are like the first steps you need to take.
Yes, but we are not doing them, and so we keep going around, and we're not getting the results we're asking for.
It's interesting. I don't know why we keep complaining when we keep doing the same things over and over again. Because with this ID system, with this house numbering system, I don't know for how many years we'll have to wait to get it done. There are people who are operating business from their homes.
Yes.
And they're not paying any taxes.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the mainstream people are paying almost every tax that comes.
Yeah.
You know, so, well, there's still lots that needs to be done. Now we have investors also rallying to help finance the commodities market in Ghana. This has been on the drawing board for a long time.
Yes.
Do you think we are seeing some light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah, when I saw this latest development, I got excited because this has been there. I've written on this for several years, done interviews and all of that. You know, and we all know the benefit of having a commodities exchange for our produce and all of that. And a lot of work has gone in, private initiative and all of that. And it got to a point, the whole thing stagnated. I'm happy that
this private and local.
Yeah, there's a collaboration to get that running. We should do it and do it well. I mean, again, we have to look at our circumstance and have an exchange that will suit our circumstance. We don't just go and pluck and put in. Otherwise, we have a difficulty.
That they will just copy and paste without editing
and
suit our condition.
Yes, and once we do it right, I mean, we'll have a very stable region for pricing of our produce. And again, our farmers will be better off and make agriculture exciting so that people like us can move out of the city and go into farming.
Pure farming.
Yes.
I see. Well, in Nigeria, you have the Nigerian Stock Exchange also down by 1.65%, and it's largely attributed to investors taking profit. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's natural that you invest to get to a point, you need some money, you want to take some money off your investment to spend for whatever reason. So, yes, so it's normal. I mean, Ghana, typically, when it's getting to the end of the year, there's a lot of that happening. People are taking some money to spend for the United of so it affects trading. So again, it's a normal trend. It will pick up again, and as the market does, it goes up and it comes down. So it's not a major issue. It's a normal practice that when you invest up to a point, you want to take some money off your investment.
Now, still in Nigeria, Procter & Gamble opened a 300 million manufacturing facility. And at that event, the government, more like assured the people of the country that they are putting more investments to see much more happening in the economy. P&G is a foreign company that is coming. So the question I ask is, what can we do to encourage more of these coming into our various countries?
Yeah, very well. I think the advantage Nigeria has is its size. Okay, not just the physical size, but the wealth in that country. Yeah. So if you went to Nigeria, the likelihood that you do well, as you get patronage for your goods, it's high compared to Ghana. So obviously they have that advantage. They have the oil power. I mean, their oil compared to ours, we're joking. So they have all of that. So in Ghana, we have to work harder. Again, what works for us is our stability, our legal system. I mean, our political regime, it's more attractive. Okay, in our position, geographically too, it's attractive. So we'd have to allow to go back to the integration issue so that people can come to Ghana and access all the other markets freely. If it happens, then they'll move to Ghana. Because they know when they're in Ghana, they can sell to all the countries across the sub-region. Otherwise, they move to Nigeria. So again, we need to do that. And again, sticking to that, we should reform our business regime in terms of the turnaround time to register a business, to clear goods, our power system, that's electricity, water. Those are things that industry will look out for before they move in. I mean, we all did this issue of location of industries, the factors to consider. Yeah, these are the things that they will consider. So if you don't have those things in place, I'm sorry.
Obviously.
Yes, and other countries are doing well. Rwanda is doing massively well after coming out of war.
That's true.
And so
because
if
you look at the model they are running, they are making things a bit more easier
Yeah.
for people to set
Yeah.
up businesses
Yeah.
there.
So business will move there.
Well, I see. Well, in the same Nigeria, you also have their stock market capitalization, falling by almost 208 billion. Would you attribute this also to part of the profit taking? Because we've seen prices also declining over a couple of weeks now.
Now, I don't think that the capitalization, I would have to find out whether maybe there's some delisting going on there as well. Because then,
if you look at it, it seems we have quite a number of losses in terms of the prices.
okay, the price, okay, the reduction in price, okay.
Yeah.
Well, again, I mean, we know the markets. They move up to a point when it's heated, when it's overpriced, it will fall for it to level up. But again, that's how the market works. It's when it falls, somebody gets into the market, right? It will rise, he makes his or her profits,
And wants to get out.
he wants to get out, and he drops. So again, you just have to time it and then know when to get in. Once it's not a very serious situation, I'm sure the market will correct itself as
There's an interesting development in Kenya where the East African countries, states, are being advised to rethink tax incentives. I say interesting because we've also had that similar situation where we give a lot of tax incentives to businesses setting up. Now there is a caution to Kenya and the rest of the Eastern African countries to be careful about that, to rethink that position. What could be informing this?
Yeah, because at a certain point, Africa was not that attractive, so we had to bring in incentives to get them to come in. Now we've gotten to a point where it's not as bad as it used to be. And we can still take off these incentives, and the companies or investors will make profit. So why do we do that? And this is backed by research. I mean, there's a World Bank research that suggests that, I mean, the amount of incentives that are given to the mining companies are just too much. So we need to review that. There's a term for it which is racing to the bottom. That's because all the African countries are trying to attract investors. So we are looking for ways of making
our countries more attractive.
And sadly, we are not looking at maybe improving on their utilities, improving on the infrastructure, but we are just taking off taxes, giving tax holidays. So we are all racing to the bottom. We'll get to a point, the investors will make all the money, and we will be poor. The resource-rich countries will be poor. And, I mean, that's what we're getting to. And I think it's not only an advice for the East African country, Ghana as well. And in Ghana's case, we realized at a point that we're giving out too much to the mining companies. So we decided to review the tax regime. And they said, no, we have a stabilization agreement with you. You can't touch it. Yeah. So that's what we've gotten ourselves into. But I hope, unfortunately, just when we're going to renegotiate the stabilization, then the gold prices started tumbling. So, make everything very murky.
But at the same time, wouldn't you think that instead of giving all these tax incentives to foreign companies to come, you rather look at or identify local businesses, some of the local economies that are doing very well, and then target them with some of these so that they can increase their capacity and even employ more people? Wouldn't that rather be more advisable?
That would be very
because
positive.
Then capital or the money is retained within the economy and it doesn't go out.
That is what we should do. But if we go and start now, people start looking for who owns that business you're trying to support. The
local business.
And where does he or she belong? So that brings the difficulty, yes. Because I remember again some years back, under a UNIDO-sponsored project, they identified potential but suffering businesses that can be supported, local businesses that can be supported to grow and become very important employers in the country. Yeah. It never happened, never implemented. We did the research, came out, so they had identified about 20 companies, made all the media noise about it, and that was it.
But are we not doing ourselves in? You have a local business. Look, take a typical look at the hotel business in Ghana. All those foreign companies are enjoying some tax incentives, but the local ones are not. Is it not a disincentive to the local person to want to set up a business then?
Yeah, when you are doing the tax system, what again we should do is, you might use tax to draw them in. We should also have other incentives for local players. Yes. That's what we should do, so that we also encourage the local players to to come in. If we're not doing that, again, then we are not helping ourselves. And we should have policies that will direct, not only allow people in, but will direct you to specific areas that we think we should drive investment to. I mean,
because I look at tourism as one that can potentially contribute a lot more to the GDP.
Yeah.
If you look at the fact that, take a country like Dubai, people go there just to look at what is happening there, not even to shop. You see, so if you can encourage more of that here, especially in the tourism industry, and maybe set certain standards, you probably may see more people come to patronize our services, you know, instead of giving the tax incentive to foreign companies, because then they take or repatriate every money back to their countries. That is what I will be looking at.
Yeah. And it's true that we need to do. I mean, that's for the Dubai story. It's amazing. I was watching a documentary over the weekend on Dubai. I said, wow, these guys, it's as if they dream and then they do it.
That's true.
That's it. And we should be doing the same with our tourism. Even if we don't have the money, let's find ways of doing it. We have tourist attraction destinations all over.
Lots.
The roads are bad. We don't have any infrastructure. So you just go visit the place, you come back. Why can't we, even if it is not putting up a hotel there, get the community people to have a system where they can host you? It's like you go and live with a family. So you go there and you can stay 3 days in that community, living with the family, and then you come back. That small village will benefit a lot, because once you are in that community, you spend, you contribute to the local economy. You would, there's no hotel, but you're just moving into a community. And the typical Ghanaian is always warm to a visitor. So this is something we can do. But again, we are still dancing around it.
Well, let's go to Kenya, where you have almost 6 million people who are not in the banking system at all. And you have 24% of men and 26% of women who are all out of the banking system. What can we do? Because Kenya is not the only case. Ghana, we have a similar situation.
I'm sure they have a better situation than we do. Actually.
Well, because even in that situation, I think almost 70% of our people, indigenous people, are out of the banking
system. Yes.
What can be done?
Okay, now we would have to find very creative ways of making banking attractive to people. I should have, if I have my money, I should have access to my money almost
anytime you want.
I want it. And today we have various electronic instruments that enable you to have access to your money virtually 24/7. If I can load my money on my card, my ATM card, and I can go to a shop in my locality, the person selling granite, and I can use my card to pay for that.
That's true.
That is money. So it's okay for me to keep my money at the bank because I have access to it all the time. But if it's not so, but Kenya is doing better than we are, and they have the mobile banking system, which is doing very well.
So illiteracy shouldn't be
a barrier. No,
or it shouldn't be a barrier.
Not at all. And again, we know, for instance, in Ghana's case, this know your customer issue, where you are required before you open a bank account, somebody must introduce you, must get utility bill and all of that. I mean, again, in Ghana, if you use a mobile money, that money is kept at the bank. You've not got to open an account, but once you are transferring money through that system, it is money going through the banking system. That's another way of roping in people into the banking system. So we should just exploit all those other means, and then we should be okay.
If you're looking at the banking system as we have in the country, one of the things that deter people, in my opinion, is the KYC requirements. Sometimes it looks as if it is too much, and so people don't want to come forward and disclose that information. Or
it's not even so much you don't want to disclose information. You live, for instance, in a compound house. You never see the electricity bill. It's the landlord that has the electricity bills. They only give you a piece of paper telling you this is the portion you have to pay. Where are you going to get the utility bill to go and present at the bank? Or you even need somebody to introduce you. The person must be a customer of that bank. I mean, all of that hassle. But fortunately, again, I know that they are trying to use the biometric system to address that. I know the Ghana Interbank Payment and Settlement System, GIPS. Now, what they are trying to encourage is that, look, instead of all that hassle, let the person just bring one ID, take the person's biometric data, fingerprints,
that's all,
and you go through the system, use the biometrics, so the person will be identified by his bio or her bio data. Yes, which is simpler. So I'm just hoping that the banking system will buy into that, and then we'll get that happening.
You have Zambia's foreign reserves falling from about 2.75 billion to about 2.6 billion as well. That in itself might not be bad per se, but is it the best situation they can find themselves in?
No, it's always better because he has a relationship with the performance of their currency, and I think in Zambia they're also suffering the depreciation of the depreciation of the value of their currency, just as we also went through last month. So you want to have a comfortable reserves to back your imports. So if it is dwindling, then again it's not good news. Maybe, and I think in their case they have to pull out a bit of the reserve to support
some sales and some procurement.
Yes, just so the currency doesn't depreciate too much. So I hope that subsequently they will try to address that. Maybe they have to increase exports. I mean, that's it.
I was going to say.
Increase production. Yes, once you increase production, increase export, you will get more income coming in, and then you show up your reserves.
It's a quite a challenging time for African countries as well.
Yeah, it is, but it is, but then yes, well, of course, the currency issue is there. Yeah. But again, comparatively, we are better off than we were some years ago. Okay, we are recording better growth rates compared to some years ago. I mean, doing a lot of 5, 6, 7% growth rates in Africa. Of course, we have a smaller base, so we'll grow faster. Yes, but then that's, again, it's better than the days when we're doing negatives or 1%, 2%, 3%. So there's still some improvement, and we just have to put our hearts together and then run as fast as we can.
It's important. Still in Zambia, Zambia used to be a leader in copper production, but it's falling. Their production levels are falling very much, and that is also affected, and then coupled with a ballooning budget deficit, it's affecting the economy to extent where, yes, they are pushing to raise money through the Eurobond, but it could be much costlier than they had anticipated. What could be the reason for this happening?
No, fine. I mean, what it means by the deficit issue, it means that essentially you have a problem with their macro stability environment. And if you're going to raise bond, the investors are looking at your fundamentals.
Yes.
How able are you to pay back the money? So if your fundamentals are weak, then they'll ask for a higher interest. So that's what is happening for them. Okay, you have a weaker macroeconomic environment, so you have to pay more to me before I can give you my money. That is essentially what is happening to them. And I imagine that the drop in their exports of their main commodity probably is also, I mean, that's what probably led to the drop in their reserves. Okay, so all of those things, not too different from what is happening here in Ghana anyway, but not entirely, because I mean, for every reform, there's that short-term negative effects, but over time, if it's well done, yes, it evens out. So I don't think if you're producing, because I think we've been beaten to by another African country, either the DR Congo or something.
DRC.
Yeah. So again, everybody's producing. Once upon a time, we were also the world leading producer of cocoa. We lost it to our neighbor, Ivory Coast. So
I know exports to China is slowing down as well in terms of the copper production. China used to take a lot, but it seems that they are importing less and less. And that could also be affecting
their growth as well. Yeah, that's also, of course. China itself is not as robust as it was, some 2, 3, 4 years ago. They're also slowing down a bit. So that should also, again, so it brings to the issue of diversifying your markets, diversifying your exports. You shouldn't rely on just one export. Spread it.
Zambia again is targeting economic growth of about 7%. Even in the face
of all these challenges
that they have. Because they think that farm inputs, even though it was lower in 2013, could come back strongly.
Yeah, and it's because of good weather, I'm told. But again, that is. So again, this is a direct blessing from God. I'd wish that it was as a result of a massive irrigation project. Okay? So it means that if next year the rains fail, then you go down.
Trouble.
Yes. But again, that's the African story.
So when at all would we move away from this, whether, into planning properly our own irrigation systems and all that?
When we plan and we follow the plan. But if you don't plan, then you have a difficulty, because then you're just moving. You don't have any specific destination you want to get to and how to get there. So we're just moving. So I think we need to work hard. And again, of course, it's better than it was some years back, but we still need to move faster, because the rest of the world is not waiting for us. They are also running.
Well, for me, I've always said that if we want to really see Africa grow and do well, there is a need, there is that political need to push for the integration of our markets, to encourage more trade across the African countries, the African continent. For me, that's the only way we should see some more growth, because the opportunity is almost everywhere, just that we are not tapping it among ourselves, but rather looking for investors outside. Fred, I want to thank you very much for this morning, for joining our show. I hope we can do some more of this some other time.
Sure.
And please don't go into hiding.
I won't go into hiding. I also support the whole idea of the integration of the continent, but we must do it very well, because if we don't do it well, we integrate and somebody will use that as a big accessible market, and then we'll keep importing. Yes.
No, but we can learn from the Europeans. The EU, well, they've had their difficulties, but it looks like largely they've been able to support each other. So for me, there's a need. I don't think we even need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to learn from their mistakes, their challenges, and probably model something that will help.
And do it well. I'm saying this because there was a managing director of one of these multinationals who said, whoa, it was a fantastic idea for Africa to integrate, because when we do, we just need to step in one country and we have access to all the 50. So we still need to be cautious about that.
Well, viewers, I want to thank you for staying with us this morning through our discussion. Once again, I thank Fred for coming to join us on our show. Like we've always said, our aim is to champion integration across the African continent, to encourage more trade, to push for more trade among ourselves. Because for us, we believe that is the only way we can help ourselves, help our economies to grow better. And Africa will be much stronger and we'll be better for it. Thank you once again for staying with us. See you tomorrow morning. Have a good day.